Most of the words we use refer to things in the real world, like Martian. Martians tend to refer to things from Mars. Other words, however, don't have such a clear meaning, like herself. Herself certainly has to refer to something that's a person, and may be female, but other than that we're not so sure. We know what it can refer to, but not what it does. So let's give an example to illustrate. The Martian saw herself in the mirror. In this case, herself refers to the Martian. Herself and the Martian basically refer to the same individual. Let's show another example to see how herself takes its meaning from the words around it. If we replace the Martian with Ingrid, now herself means Ingrid. This is what we mean when we say that herself takes its meaning from the words around it. Let's try another example, this time replacing Ingrid with another noun that's more complex. The Martian's mother saw herself in the mirror. Now we have two possible antecedents, the Martian and the mother. In this case, it has to be the mother who's doing the seeing, not the Martian. Let's lay out a set of hypotheses about what herself can possibly refer to. We think it has to be the closest possible noun to herself, and that it has to be the right kind of noun. But that's kind of vague. What do we mean by the right kind of noun? Well, let's replace all this with some other noun. For instance, the book saw herself in the mirror. That kind of doesn't work, though, because the book isn't a person. It would only work if the book were anthropomorphized. So let's put a person back in the sentence. The book saw herself in Ingrid. Well, we have a person, but the sentence doesn't work either. Maybe Ingrid actually has to go before herself. Let's swap these. Ingrid saw herself in the book. Now the sentence works reasonably well, in a figurative sort of way. Ingrid, in the sentence, is the antecedent of herself. So we should revise our hypotheses to reflect the referent of herself must be the closest preceding female person. Let's try another example with multiple possible antecedents. Ingrid said that the Martian's mother laughed at herself. In this case, we have several possible antecedents: Ingrid, the Martian, and the mother. And this is where our closest preceding antecedent comes in. Herself has to refer to the mother. Let's apply our new constraints to another sentence. The mother of the Martian saw herself. We have two possible antecedents again, the mother and the Martian. But by our rule, the Martian would be the one that's doing the seeing, and that's just not the case. Here the mother is actually doing the seeing. This suggests that we might have to revise our rules a bit. So let's take a simpler sentence to see how this works. The mother saw herself. This means that the mother is crucially the person who's doing the seeing. When we reinsert of the Martian, we see that of the Martian is somehow modifying the mother. It's not changing the most critical part of the meaning of the sentence, and so when herself searches for an antecedent, it skips over the content in parentheses and just looks at the mother. So our new hypothesis has to reflect that any potential antecedent not be within a modifier. Let's look at one more sentence to see this in action. The rocket that carried the Martian launched herself. That carried the Martian seems to be modifying the rocket, just like the other modifier was doing in the previous sentence. So when herself has to find an antecedent, it skips right over the Martian and goes straight to the rocket. This sentence happens to be ungrammatical because the rocket does not meet our constraints in that it is not a person. In fact, sometimes linguists can learn as much from ungrammatical sentences as grammatical ones. Herself is just one of the many words that take their meaning from the words around them. It's called an anaphor, specifically a reflexive anaphor. Other reflexives that exist in English include these words: himself, itself, themself, themselves, ourselves. But reflexives exist in other languages as well, like these words. In fact, there are other types of anaphora that are not reflexives. These include words like his and its, their, her, him. All of these words take their meaning from the words in the surrounding context as well, but they use different antecedents. Bonus. Try to figure out the antecedents of the anaphora in this sentence. Morris thought that Felix misplaced his book after the Martian distracted him. In particular, pay attention to his and to him, and which of these could be the possible antecedents.